Hello, everyone. I am SAG-AFTRA Executive Vice President Ben Whitehair, and welcome to the second installment of our three-part series on the new commercials contract. Last year, SAG-AFTRA members voted overwhelmingly to ratify the 2022 SAG-AFTRA commercials contract. The key provisions in this new agreement are a massive win for members with a host of benefits, including over $120 million in new financial gains, a 10% increase in session fees, flat fee and per cycle rates across most digital and traditional media. The contract was implemented in two stages, with the second phase going into effect on the 1st of this year, 2023. We've covered other aspects of the new commercials contract in previous programs, and today we're going to look at something that directly affects your pocketbook: editing. Before we dive into today's program, I'd like to introduce you to our American Sign Language interpreters, Joe Rivera and Romina Mena. As a reminder, today's program is being recorded and you can watch the replay right here on SAG-AFTRA's YouTube channel, along with a vast catalog of other great content. Okay, one of the purposes of the new commercials contract was to incentivize advertisers to use the new agreement by introducing a simpler and more flexible editing structure that makes costs more predictable. These changes also make it easier for members to understand how much they'll be paid for editing changes. So here to walk us through these changes is SAG-AFTRA National Director Commercials Contracts, Tracy Hyman. Tracy has worked tirelessly to improve the lives of SAG-AFTRA members, enforcing some of the most groundbreaking union contracts in the entertainment industry. I want to take this moment to thank Tracy for her unwavering commitment to our members and offer my congratulations on her 15th anniversary with this organization. Tracy, thank you so much for being with us here today. Are you ready for your close-up?
Absolutely, Ben.
All right, take it away.
Okay, let me share my screen with everybody. We'll get involved in editing.
Looks great.
Perfect. So, under the new structure, we have essentially four types of editing. Now, you all might be used to hearing about Section 26. Well, under the new contract, Section 26 doesn't exist anymore. We've created some simpler editing structures, and let's dive into them. We have shorter, longer versions, permitted edits, paid edits, and addressable edits. In this presentation, I'm not going to be really speaking to addressable edits, as they are a very specific type of edit that is used with a specific type of technology. The more often you will be seeing shorter, longer versions, permitted edits, and paid edits of your commercials. So let's talk about the first type of editing, shorter, longer. This is when they take a 60-second spot and cut it down into 30-second, 10, 15-second spots. Now, all of those count as one for use purposes, but how they are created and how you're compensated for them has changed. The first and second shorter and longer spots have no additional payment to the performer. The third shorter or longer will trigger a session fee being paid to the performers, and each of the shorter, longer ones after the third will trigger a 30% of session payment for each one. Now, they can make an unlimited number of these shorter, longer edits, as long as they're compensating you for the creation of them. When they create these shorter versions, they are allowed to take footage, cutting room floor footage, we call it sometimes, from the same script or storyboard. So they could create a 60-second spot, cut it down to a 30, but use some different footage that was done on that same day from the same script or storyboard and include it in that 30-second spot without triggering it being a new commercial. All of these commercials, again, count as one for use purposes. Let's move on to the permitted edits. When you think about a permitted edit, you can think about a lot of times it's a change to the tag. And the tag is that little piece of content that's either at the beginning or the end of a commercial that'll discuss things like where you can buy the product, if it lists each commercial having a different location or a different drugstore where you could buy the perfume, different prices based on the location, dealer identification. All of those are tags, and those can be changed without triggering a new commercial. They can also change the language, for example, from English to Spanish. They can change the VO. They could rearrange the on-camera material. And again, in that tag, they could change the product as long as they're in the same line or a different variant. So a car commercial could change the different types of SUV because that's all in the same line. And that would not trigger a new commercial as long as it was in the tag. Performers are paid for any work done to create the edit. So if a VO is going in and recording a number of tags, they would be paid for each one of those tags. However, the creation of those edits would not trigger additional payment, and all of those commercials would count for one for use purposes. The next type of edit we'll talk about is the paid edit. Now, these are when you change the product in the same product line or different variant, like we just discussed, but this time it's in the body of the commercial, in the main part of the commercial. They can also change the setting and wardrobe, as long as that setting change is done by green screen or CGI. So for example, they could have a car commercial with a surfboard on the top, a green screen or CGI image of a beach, and performers getting out of the car wearing surf gear. They could reshoot the same spot, change the green screen to be a snow-capped mountain, and have the performers get out of the car wearing snow gear and having skis attached to the roof of their car. Those would all be considered one commercial for use purposes. The performers are paid for creating each edit, so they would get a session fee for shooting each one of them. The change of product in the same product line would be, for example, if there was a candle with different scents. You have a woman sitting on a couch talking about how much she loves the smell of the flavor of candle. Each time she shoots one of the flavors of candle, she'll receive a session fee. It's the editing part that will also trigger an additional payment, but they do count as one for use purposes. So let me give you an example. Let's say that there's a commercial for a candle, and the woman sitting on the couch starts with, "I love the smell of my vanilla candle." She would get a session fee for shooting that spot. She then reshoots it saying, "I love my cinnamon scented candle, my orange blossom candle," continuing on with different scents. She would receive a session fee for the actual work she did recording and shooting those various scents. When it came time to use the spot, let's assume the vanilla is the main spot, she would get use paid off of the vanilla, and then she would receive a payment to use each one of those additional edits. So when they use the cinnamon, she would get an additional session fee for their use to be able to use that scent spot. For the orange blossom, she would receive a payment of 75% of session. For the use of the lavender, 50% of session, lemon, 30%, and each one after, such as the ocean breeze, would get an additional 30% of session per edit. But the use payment would be one. They would not each generate their own use payments, but they would generate this edit fee to allow the company to use the spot. Now, those are the three main types of edits that you're going to be seeing with this new structure. If none of those edits are hit, and you're looking at the commercial and there's a new OCP, a new on-camera performer added, or a new product or brand, such as instead of being a candle, they're now introducing a diffuser, that's a different product, and that would be a whole new commercial. Additionally, if they change the message of the commercial, for example, from saying we have the fastest internet to check out our new rates on internet, those are two different commercial messages and would trigger a new commercial being created. So if the other three, if the edits that you're seeing don't fit within that the other three that we mentioned, the shorter, longer, paid, or permitted, it's probably an unpermitted edit, which is considered a brand new commercial. Thank you so much for listening about the new structures. I encourage you to go back when you do see your commercials and review them with the definitions that I've given. And Ben, are there any questions out there?
Yes, indeed. Fantastic. Well, let's take, yep, perfect. Hi, everybody. Tracy, that was great. I am curious, these are some of the questions that we've had from members. How is a change to the off-camera message, a permitted change, different from a change to the commercial message, an unpermitted edit? And you've talked about it, but I think that's an area that would be could be ripe for confusion.
A little confusion. Absolutely. So when we talk about under the permitted edit, a VO change, we're either talking about actually going from a male to a female voice, or for lack of a better term, slang. So let's say a commercial for barbecue sauce is airing in one area, and Zesty and Tasty is sort of the draw for people in that area. And they're running a commercial for the same barbecue sauce in the South, where zingy might be a term that they're interested in. So it's those types of tweaks, sort of the difference between cola and pop and hoagie and a sub. Those types of changes are what we're looking about. When we talk about a commercial message, we're talking about the information they're trying to get to the performer to buy it. I mean, to the audience, sorry, to buy it. So that would be the difference between a price and selling 5G, or an iPhone mini versus an Android, of what they're actually selling in the spot versus the dialogue of the spot.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So like, yeah, what is actually being sold as distinct from nuances, perhaps often geographically, in how they're doing it?
Yes. Exactly.
Okay, cool. This question from a member: how does the elimination of the old editing rules affect tagging? And again, I know you talked a little bit about this, but distinctions in what maybe people are used to versus how this is working now.
Actually, the tagging we did sort of steal that from section 26 and pull that into the new structure. So those tags, you'll still be paid for the tag just like you were before to record it. And they still can go on the end and not trigger a new spot, as long as it is like a dealer identification, a product, location, things like that. But that particular piece of the editing structure hasn't really changed. We did adopt that over to the new structure.
Okay, great. Great. Can a second shorter/longer version contain new footage? Like, where can that footage come from?
We're used to seeing a 60-second spot with a cut down to a 30 and being able to sort of overlay the 30 onto the 60 and have all the same footage. Now we've expanded the ability for producers to sort of create more, use their creativity a little bit more. So as long as the footage is from the same script or storyboard that you're shooting on that day, they can interchange that footage. So for example, they could have a performer walking into the room, crossing the room, and sitting down at the couch in the 60-second, but in the 30, have her just standing in the doorway. Or they had another scene where they tested her walking to the table instead of to the couch. As long as it's part of that same script and storyboard, and it was shot, on that day in relation to that script and storyboard, they would be able to make those creative tweaks. So they're not going to be able to be overlaid on each other anymore in the same way that they were. So it is a little bit more difficult to distinguish on whether it's a new from a different script or storyboard, and if it really is a new commercial. But we always can get a copy of the script and the storyboard to review those edits to see if they are in fact lining up or not.
Okay, got it. So the union can get those. Is it beneficial for performers to take pictures or hold on to scripts and storyboards from when they're on set?
We actually got language into the contract this year that principal performers can request a copy of the script or storyboard at the day that they're shooting. Now, if it's something where it's a top secret, commercial and they're revealing a new spokesperson and they don't want it to get out, then they won't get it that day, but they'll be able to get it once the commercial's released.
Okay.
But other than something that's a super surprise type thing, they can request it that day. And the union always has the right at any time to request that type of information. So we have two ways of getting it. If a performer doesn't feel comfortable, we always have the right to ask for that information and get it.
Okay, great. Great. Next question. Are we still permitted to freely bargain for extended or unlimited editing rights for digital only commercials?
Nope, that has gone away. All of those editing structures that I spoke of, the permitted, paid, and shorter, longer, apply to all commercials now. There's no longer a separate structure or the right to negotiate for unlimited edits for digital. Everything now has that set editing structure with those specific payments that are due applying to everything.
Got it. So from the ad agency perspective or the client perspective, it's a simpler structure because it's going to be kind of the same no matter where it's going in terms of those parts of the contract.
Exactly.
Okay, great. This question is use covered under the base or mother spot for all shorter, longer versions, paid edits, and permitted edits.
Yes. So while what you'll see is your checks will have basically the ad ID or the ISKI of the main spot, let's say in my example, the vanilla spot, but all of the payments will reflect the uses of those. So let's say, for example, the 60-second aired on cable, but never aired on Wild Spot, but the 30-second aired on Wild Spot. That Wild Spot payment will be on the check with the 60, but it will reflect that the 30 ran someplace. If the 60 and the 30 only run in the exact same places, you're just going to get one payment that will cover the use of both the 60 and the 30. I hope that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. No, I think, my takeaway from all this, and I know that you and staff and our members worked really hard to come up with all of these different ways that we can make the contract simpler, both to make it easier for companies to do union commercials and to make it easier for them to predict in their budgets and, benefit to the performers to get a better sense of what we're likely to be paid for any of these things, depending on where it gets used. So
absolutely.
Incredibly supportive. Any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
Always call the union if you have questions. We have business reps that are trained on all the new terms of the contract. If you're seeing your commercial or something weird happened on set with the shooting, definitely call us and let us know. And if you don't understand, we're happy to go over this. It's a new learning process for all of us. It's a new structure. We're super excited about it. And we're always available to ask questions.
I love that. So yeah, if people have questions about a commercial that they shot or they're seeing, or, hey, how does this apply? All of that, give the union a call and you'll walk them through. Fantastic. Amazing. Well, Tracy, thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Thanks.
For anybody watching, if you missed the first episode of our 3-part series on the new commercials payment structure, head over, if you're not already there, to the SAG-AFTRA YouTube channel, where you will find other videos covering the new payment structure. As a reminder to everyone watching, this presentation is available as a replay on our YouTube channel, along with the whole library of programs on important and informative topics for our members. On behalf of the whole team here at SAG-AFTRA, thank you so much for watching, and a special thanks to our regular viewers who've been tuning in each week for our educational live streams. If you have ideas for topics you would like to see us cover, shoot us an email, pteoe@sagaftra.org. And before we go, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to SAG-AFTRA's YouTube channel to get updates on all of the content that we are publishing. Thank you so much, everyone.